Welcome into another exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today from the future I'm going to start over, okay?
Hey, you know what? Before you start, I was just going to say one thing. I was reading about you're in the Midwest, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
I'm from Nebraska, so I thought that might be an interesting angle to bring up at some point.
Okay, yeah, I'm close. I live about 10 minutes from like Niobrara.
Okay. My family's down in the southeast corner of Nebraska, Fall City.
Okay, and I'm in the southeast corner of South Dakota. So
All right.
awesome. I'm going to restart. I'll edit this. I don't do a lot of that, but I screwed up your intro.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's go for it.
I'm going to blame the head cold I've had for days now.
All right.
Well, welcome into a very exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today from the Future Proof Music School, John von Seggern. Did I say it
Hi
right?
there. Yeah, John von Seggern. That's
Yeah,
right.
Dutch, correct?
It's German. It's North German. It's all
Oh,
kind of in a similar zone up there, though.
yeah, fantastic. Well, John, thank you so much for being on the show today. Love everything that I'm hearing already. You said we're going to talk about music, AI, and education, all three things that I am very interested in. So
Nice.
I'm going to allow you to kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself now.
Okay, sure. I have been a professional musician all my life, and then I started working in music education about 15 years ago. I've had kind of a crazy, diverse career, I guess. It seems like anyone who sticks with a creative career for enough years, you end up working in a lot of different things just to keep your head above water, if you know what I mean. Um, but anyway, yeah, so I started out as an acoustic jazz musician, actually. I'm a bass player. And I ended up moving to Japan and playing jazz for a while. Then I ended up moving to Hong Kong and becoming more of a session and pop musician. I played on a lot of records and tours with big Chinese artists who are honestly some of the biggest pop artists in the world at that time. That was in the 90s. And then while I was still in Hong Kong, I got into electronic music and I started producing and performing with computers and also ended up doing a master's degree on digital music culture. That was the time when the MP3 file sharing was really revolutionizing anything. Anyway, then I moved back to the States and then I started working more. I moved to Los Angeles and then I started working more in music technology. And I worked for Native Instruments for a while. Probably my biggest claim to fame there was I wrote the manual for Massive, which is a synthesizer that ended up being used for the early dubstep scene a lot. So everybody kind of knows that one. And and then I went from that and I got into music education and specifically online music education, working mostly with electronic music production. So like computer-based music production. So it's been a long trip from playing acoustic music when we had to play all the notes, as I like to tell the young students. We literally had to play them all in time with each other, not only, and then to now, we're using computers. And so the AI thing, um, I got into AI because I've always been very interested in using technology to learn better and learn faster. I'm a very curious person and I want to learn as many things as I can. And ever since the internet started, when we first got Google, that was very exciting to be able to just Google things. And YouTube has kind of been another step of learning things from each other. And now AI is like another acceleration of that, I feel like. So what really inspired me in AI was I was tutoring my young son during COVID. He was in second grade then, and he was home for a while, and I decided to just teach him myself. And we were using Khan Academy for the math, something a lot of people have used. And they had introduced a little tutor, they call it Khanmigo. And it kind of, they have the course, and then the students work through it, but then Conmigo would pop up and help you where you needed help, or it would show you a different way to do it, or things like this. So that has kind of been my inspiration in developing our AI tutor we call Cadence. And Cadence is integrated into our courses and can help you answer your questions, or if you want to go off on a tangent and explore something. But I feel like I've rambled on for a while now. Maybe I should stop and let you get a word in.
Well, speaking of questions, I have so many. Um, First of all, I feel like in some ways we have you to thank for the womp of the late aughts and early 2010s as dubstep just came on the scene out of nowhere. I was out in Oregon, '07 to '09, and dubstep was really just starting to hit the scene
Hmm.
around that time. And by 2010, it was literally everywhere being played on, the national scene, national TV ads and everything. So it was funny to kind of watch it go from an underground, very, and even in that world where still house and break beats were still kind of the norm for most rave parties or whatever you want to call it, for electronic music parties anyway, especially around Portland and where I was hanging out there. Um, how long has AI been producing music on the pop scene? I gotta know.
Producing music, um, I mean, it's only really been possible to do that in the last year or so. I don't know. I know you're referring to like these AI bands like
It's
Velvet
incredible.
Sundown and this
It's
kind of
it's
stuff.
it's incredible. And I kind of, as a musician, right? I think it's our tendency to get a little offended, right, when we see
Sure,
someone.
yeah.
But as a human being and knowing what expression and how music has allowed me to express myself, there's so many people that didn't spend their teenage years like I did learning an instrument when they had all the time in the world. And now they have these thoughts and they have these feelings and they have these words and these things that they want to say and they want to communicate that through song, but they have no wherewithal to make that happen. And instead of paying someone thousands and thousands of dollars to never make, to produce something that's never going to make a single penny, because all of us are already out here spending thousands of dollars getting our out there and not making any money. Um, to see them able to express themselves that way, it makes me really proud to see that. And but then, like I said, the other side is that, I kind of shake my head where I'm like, man, I had to work so hard to learn so many things to watch it just be, kind of, commoditized down and made into something that a few hours with Chat GPT and some other AI software can spit out, a better produced song than I could ever do on my own. They sound ready for pop radio, some of these. It's incredible.
Well, yeah, that's really interesting, what you're saying, and a lot of the thinking that's gone into the design of our school is thinking about what does it even mean to be a musician or a producer in this kind of world where these kind of tools exist. And I agree with you. On the one hand, it's great that more people are able to make music, just like with Midjourney and the art thing, more people are able to make art using AI tools and express themselves that way. I don't think most of them want to become professional graphic designers. They just want to make images for their D&D game or something like that. Um, but I think I mean, nobody really knows how this is going to play out, right? But I think of it at base like this. There's always going to be people who are more devoted to art and music or more passionate about it than everybody else and spend more time on it and work harder on it. And those people are always going to rise above the rest. I don't know what tools those people are going to use in the future. I imagine they're going to be using AI for some of what they're doing, but there are other challenges and points that come up when you think about this. So if you want to be, what does it mean even to be like a distinctive artist? Well, let's stick to music artists for a minute. What does it mean to like have your own sound or your own perspective, your own personal voice that comes out through lyrics or whatever? That's more than you can really capture from just generating something in the moment. Like you're talking about creating like a body of work with a consistency over time and that expresses your personal point of view. So I believe there's always going to be a role for that kind of artist somehow. And what we're trying to do is figure out how to prepare those people for future careers and how to figure out what do they need to know.
Right. Well, and I think that while the AI is very good at maybe creating a song, creating, like you said, an artist and something that someone is going to follow and to invest their time into getting to know everything about them, like it can't manufacture a pop star yet. It can manufacture a pop song, but it can't necessarily develop that entire, catalog out. And maybe it's with time, it may be able to do that. But
Well, right. But I guess it's like I, there's also another perspective on it is there's different kinds of art and music. There's some music that we don't care who made it, like the music you maybe hear in the supermarket, for example. It's just some pleasant background music. But then there's music that we care very much who made it, like at least those of us who are real music fans, I care about the artists that I follow and their personal journeys and why they played guitar on this album and not this album because they were, who knows, it was part of their personal process. And I also think in the sound of the music, um, your process of creating it is what leads to how it sounds. You know what I mean? So that's why even, leaving out AI for a second, like some people are really into using hardware synthesizers or hardware recording systems because it gives them a different interface to work with or different limitations of sounds. You get what I'm saying?
well, yeah, I mean, we've been having this discussion since since the 808 drum,
Hmm.
processor,
Right.
and it's kind of just continues to evolve to where now the AI is taking it to a whole nother level and it's learning. And that's what I think is hard to fathom is that 2 years ago, even this was kind of a thought, oh, well, yeah, sure, it'll be able to do that. And then it's like, oh, no, it's here and it's doing it to a very high level. That is probably scaring a lot of people. But it's never, I've come from the country and rock music world, a member of the Midwest Country Music Organization. So I deal with a lot of people that are obviously still playing their instruments and are playing live. And I don't know, you're never going to be able to see someone who's creating music using AI to go out there and perform that song necessarily, because most people are using that AI because they can't sing or they can't write they can't play an instrument per se. So it's just an interesting conversation. We could go on and on about the ramifications of it, but I would love to know, how that kind of ties in with future proof, because obviously you're addressing this from an angle of, hey, well, we know that it's here, it's not going anywhere. How do we start equipping young musicians or young artists with the tools while also kind of maintaining some modicum of integrity as an artist as well?
Right. So I think there's two sides to that. One side is we've really thought about, yeah, what are the deeper core things that you're going to need to know to be a successful artist in this kind of era? And I don't think it's actually technical skills as much. In fact, I mean, there still is a lot of that you need to know, but the AI is going to help us with that. That's one of the good uses of AI is like, help me figure out how to mix this track better, or why does the synthesizer clashing with the guitar? Can you help me with that? There's already been things like that, actually. There's plugins that do that. But, um, but on a deeper level, what is it that sets apart like a really great artist from somebody who's just kind of copying everybody else? And it's really more your creative vision at heart and really thinking about, well, what am I really about as an artist? What am I trying to express? That's what we're trying to lead our students to think about.
More
I
of the
mean,
personal and interpersonal aspects of music because of AI and just technology in general, making a lot of the technical aspects easier and easier. I mean, it's
mhm.
never been easier to learn an instrument, I would think, than now because so much information and courses and just information is available online, whether it's free on YouTube or it's courses in schools such as yours, that it's easy to lose track of the personal side of songwriting and the interpersonal side of maybe creating a band and playing with other people or booking shows or just dealing with fans.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I should say also one of the core, probably the core part of our school is that we want you to work personally with people that have already gone down the path that you have, and we have a posse of pretty successful artists working for us. My partner is a dubstep star, Prototype, and he's our director of marketing, and he's created a lot of the courses. And he's already, in fact, he's off somewhere to play this weekend. I think he's going to be out of town. But I was going to say on the creative vision kind of tip, I've been supervising these kind of programs for about 15 years now at different schools, and the thing that I really got to notice is if you're if the program is well designed and the teachers are good, then the students will learn and they'll get better at producing, That means your program is working. So I could hear the students' music go along, and from quarter to quarter I could hear, okay, that guy is, he learned how to mix, now his bass is clearer, the levels are better, the vocal I can hear. But then what you notice is you can learn that part, but if that person, if all they're trying to do is like copy the guy that they're really into, then that doesn't lead to anything. You know what I mean? And even in terms of like a career sense, like I would always counsel the students, if you want to have a sustainable, successful career, you need to make some kind of original mark for yourself. You can't just be the number 78th person that's copying Skrillex or whoever it is. So I think that is really the core skill, that developing your creativity and your vision. That's what you're not going to, at the end of the day, you still have to decide what kind of music you're going to make, right? You can't outsource that to AI.
Do you think you can teach someone how to be inspired?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I don't think you can. Well, I would say there's two parts of it. On the one hand, there's exercises you can do to practice creativity, like go for a walk and then come back and write a track. Meditate for 10 minutes, or something like this. We actually do have a couple of courses in creativity. They're called Creative Strategies, and one of our teachers, Stephen Alepa, he he structured it by each video, each unit is about a different musician or artist that he really likes. And he would try to hone in on one aspect of why he likes them, and then he asks you to kind of try to apply that to make a sketch. So you're trying to draw inspiration from different people than you would normally. And some of the people he included were more like Albert Einstein or somebody like this, not necessarily, they weren't necessarily all artists even. So that's one way. The other way is you got to work with people who are successful creative people. And at the end of the day, there has to be some personal transfer where it rubs off and you learn by observing, like, oh, this is what a successful creative artist in our society does. This is how they've managed to succeed. There's so many little things to know, from who to approach, how to approach them, how to present yourself, how to market and brand yourself, what's a good strategy for you, where should you be performing, what kind of people are going to like the music that you're making, all these kind of things. You
Who
can't.
who would you say is your typical student? Is there a, kind of general idea of who you're trying to bring in, or is it really, kind of any artist that's out there that's looking to future proof their own career?
At this point, we're mostly working with electronic music producers, sort of, people in their 20s, college age and up. But increasingly, as we expand the program, it's going to be more and more about branding and marketing and content creation. So, because that's such a key part of being an artist now, you have to think about that, I think, from the beginning if you want to be successful. So, we'd like to gradually, expand to more and more genres of music.
Beautiful. Well, you mentioned pre-pro that you're a fellow Midwesterner. Do
That's
you
right.
feel that you mentioned you're from the Nebraska area, a little farther south than us. You said southeast, so around Lincoln and down, in that kind of region. Do you feel that in your career that kind of growing up in the Midwest, gives you a different perspective than someone necessarily that was raised in LA or somewhere like that. Do you feel like it gave you an advantage in the music business?
It's funny you say that. I actually do feel that way, and it was because I think I've come into a lot of different types of situations, and I've been able to be very adaptable and kind of respectful of the other people I was around. I feel like it's kind of basic Midwestern niceness. I know Nebraska nice is kind of a cliche, but I found, especially when I was working in Asia, um, I was working with mostly Asian musicians, and typically they would have encountered some European or American people that were a bit more arrogant about where they were from, maybe. And so I would come into it and just be like, you know what, I'm just a guy. We're all people here having we're just working on a job together. I'm just like you. And that attitude went a long way. And I ended up making a lot of friends and getting into a lot of worlds where maybe I wouldn't have been able to if I had a more of an attitude, let's say.
And I think that's so great to hear for so many of our listeners and the artists that are around us. Obviously, being based in the Midwest ourselves and members of the Midwest Country Music Organization, that we all feel that people look over us, right? And that I think we can look at it as a disadvantage in a lot of ways that we're not near these major markets or we're not, in these bigger scenes. But I have always felt the same as you, that the upbringing and just being maybe a little bit harder people, or not necessarily hard in a negative sense, but able to deal with things and to deal with change. If you can survive a South Dakota winter, you can survive just about anything. I
Yeah,
say it keeps the crazies out.
I went to school in Minnesota too. So
Yeah, you got the full brunt of a couple of Midwest winters, at least under your belt. And whether, no matter where you live, you kind of take that with you. So lovely that you could share that with us. John, this has been a fascinating conversation. I would definitely love to have you back on sometime and to continue talking about AI. But I'd like to let you go. I don't want to take up too much of your time today. So go ahead and plug anything that you'd like to, obviously, the school, and let people know where they can find you.
sure, yeah, just check out the school. We're at futureproofmusicschool.com. It pretty much explains our whole program there. And you can even talk to our AI Cadence. You can voice call her and talk to her on the screen.
Incredible
And
stuff.
Cadence can analyze your mixes and give you help with whatever you want to know about. But like if you want to know how the mix of the frequencies is, she can give you some guidance on that. And yeah, just go check it out at the website.
Just absolutely incredible. I have been totally stunned by what I've been hearing, and so nice to know that beyond just the flat out production, that there's tools that are out there that are just making it a little bit easier. And I think that's more of what I view AI is it is a tool to help me achieve it. It is not the end all be all for outsourcing all of my thoughts and feelings too. So
I
John,
mean,
thank you so much.
if I could just say one more thing about that, I think the direction that it's all moved in is musicians are interested in having tools, like you said, that can make the pieces for them in new ways. They don't want it to like make the whole song because that's what they want to do, right? That's why we make music. But if I can, I might use it to make a drum beat and put something with it. So I think that's where it's moving, like more tools.
Fantastic. Well, John, absolutely blessed to have met you today, and thank you for being part of the scene.
All right, nice to meet you too, Bubba.